What's good, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Writer's Room. Today, we are going to be discussing Kingdom Business Season 1, Episode 3. And this episode starts off with our girl, Danita Jordan. She is just making her press runs. She starts off at Big Tig, and she's going to, of course, the gossip columnist that is trying to get her revved up about Rebel. So in this, they're just questioning her about her new album and mentioning Rebel, and is she going to be performing with Rebel anytime soon? And of course, Danita, just like the queen she is, denies Rebel of any type of close proximity to her. And she goes so far into this interview as to saying a prayer for Rebel, as if, I don't know, she does any better or she doesn't sin at all, but that's neither here or there. So she does end up saying a prayer for Rebel and all of the dancers. And in this interview, she does tell everyone to go boycott the strip clubs, specifically the one that Rebel works at. And you do have Caesar listening in on this conversation because she is making her rounds at each radio station, praying for Rebel and pretending as if she cares about the safety. And so, yeah, this was a shady moment for Danita Jordan. But then we transition and switch back over to Rebel and her boyfriend Zion, and he's just found Rebel in the tub. Of course, if you remember from the last episode, Rebel actually got shot at. We don't know what had happened with it, but we see that the bullets actually missed, and it seems as though they hit the wall and not Rebel. And so Zion is like, look, this is too much. You're too deep within this. We have to give over that evidence and the USB to the police. And really all he's trying to do is get Rebel back to the club, back to doing what she's been doing. Go ahead and quit all of this. You're not a detective. You're not a gospel singer. Just quit all of this. Give over this evidence to the police. And of course, she is fighting back on it because she wants to know what happened to Danny, and she doesn't truly trust the police. We then cut over back to Danita Jordan. She's walking into the office at Kingdom Records, and we see that she has her son there. She has the CFO, the chief financial officer, as well as her husband, and they are all there to tell her they have 5 months to get this afloat, to get this record label afloat, because they're gonna have to shut down half of their employees, or shall I say let go of half of their employees, if they don't see any revenue from her new album this go around. And of course, her son is trying to get her to license out her album so that Caesar over at Redeeming Records can let Rebel cover it, because it was such a hit at the Stellar Awards. And Miss Danita Jordan is like, hell no, basically. Like, no, she's not touching my records. We're going to have to find another way out of this financial debt. And I mean, it's bad, y'all. We have her husband saying we have to pray and fast and get a #1 hit on your album in order to make good on our debt just to stay afloat for the next year. Next, we transition over to CJ. She's laying on the bed inside of her daughter's room, which we do learn that her and her husband have had many miscarriages, but one actually lasted up to 8 months, and still she miscarried that baby. And so her husband is trying to get her out of this funk and get her to understand that he's there with her. They're going through this turmoil together, and they're going through this miscarriage together. And CJ believes that not only did this miscarriage happen to her, was God's doing, but it was also God's karma, giving her the karma back for what she's done in the past. So we do see that not only does CJ and her husband have problems with Danita stealing his songs, but they also have marital problems involving the miscarriages that they've had along the way. So we transition back over to Rebel and Zion, and we do see that they've contacted the detectives on Danny's case to hand over the USB with all of the evidence of the sex tapes on it. Rebel is very hesitant in giving this information out, but the detectives do reassure her that they will find Danny's killer and put everything to rest. Now we cut over to Danita Jordan, and Caesar just walked into her office, and it seems though Danita called him over to the office to ask about the One Moment in Glory album and if he can license it so that Rebel can sing the covers on it. And she tells him no. So I don't know why she called him there, only I guess to see him beg for it. But he does in turn tell her that he has all of these evidence to support that he was the one who wrote produced and arranged the One Moment from Glory album, and that her father knows about it. And Danita, and this is where we see the most shady Danita. And Caesar tells her that you're not afraid of what Rebel was before this. You're afraid of what she can become and how she can replace you. And he tells her that this won't happen again. You've done it before, and I won't let you do it to Rebel. And so he walks out, but you can tell that Danita is shaken up by this conversation because she does believe that Caesar has something that will support his claims that he wrote, produced, and arranged One Moment from Glory, and that will ultimately damage Danita Jordan's career. Next, we cut over to Rebel at her house, and we see that Caesar and a couple of members from his choir and from his church and his record label come over to help Rebel rebrand herself and show her in a different light outside of the strip club. And of course, Rebel is fighting against this. They're looking at some of her outfits, and some of the outfits, I'm like, girl, where are the clothes at? But you know what? She is open to getting rid of these and starting over and finding her voice within this gospel world. Next, we cut over to CJ. She's singing and practicing on the piano, and you could tell that she's still struggling. And her father comes over to talk to her, and she sheds light on the fact that she needs help. And he tells her that, hey, I've been here, I've fought these demons and I fought this devil before, and all you have to do is pray about it. And she tells him, and this does shed light on how the community, the church community, will tell you to pray about things, and sometimes that does not help with improving your mental health. And she's trying to tell him that hey, focus on me. You're so busy trying to run a church that you're not seeing I am completely broken inside. And this scene does seem to foreshadow what's to come of Deacon Jordan's character, because we see in this that there are some things and emotions unraveling as he's speaking to CJ. He's starting to think about a lot of things that maybe CJ triggered within his own self. The next scene we cut to is Rebel meeting up with Caesar at the record label, and she's about to lay down another track. She's listening to the music, and she wants to do her own music, and Caesar is like, no, for this album, I'm going to produce it, and we're going to get all of these people to work on it with you. And she is completely against it because, first of all, she already thinks that Caesar is trying to change who she is, and she's saying, no, I want Danny's words to live on. I have some things that I wrote for her and that she wrote, and I want this to be played. I want this to be on my first album. And after Caesar dismisses her, she storms out of the studio and calls on Taj. And in this section, it's cute because you can kind of see that there is a relationship blooming. I am still rooting for these two, but also rooting for him in essence. But she calls Taj and lets him know that your boy C's is tripping. He wants to change who I am and change what I love and change everything about me. But Taj does reassure her that C's knows what he's doing. I done gave this man a nickname. I'm going to call him C's. But C's knows what he's doing. He knows how to make a star, and he has an ear for creating stars. And so trust him. Trust the process. You can really tell that Taj believes in her, and he tells her that you have a calling on your life, and it's a shame that you are the only one who can't see it. So she does think about this, and she's going to go back to Caesar. Next, we transition to Taj going to visit his girlfriend, Essence, and we see that Essence is a bona fide superstar, as we found out in the first episode. But Essence wants to take their relationship further and start having sex with Taj. And Taj tells her that God tells me who is the one for me and who is right to become sexually intimate with. And Essence does take this as a slight dig, but she loves Taj and she's willing to wait and be patient for him. And we also find out why he made the decision to be celibate, because of course Taj is not exactly overly religious like his parents. He was in the streets before. He belonged to the streets. Let him tell it, that he was having sex with every girl that he's seen that was attracted and wanted to have sex with him. And he's trying to change his ways and only listen to God's word on who he belongs with to be his wife. Next, we cut to the detectives. They have gone into the chief of police office and lets him know that we've just received some evidence on this USB and we think you should take a look at it. It's from the dead girl's best friend. which I thought that was a little shady. Just say her name. It's Danny. But anyways, and we do know that the chief of police is a faithful member to the Jordans at their church. And so he takes a look at this USB. And of course, Deacon Jordan is on the USB on Danny's homemade sex tape, which will not only implicate him for cheating on his wife as the pastor of the church, but also places a motive on Deacon Jordan to get rid of Danny. So this makes him a suspect at this point. Next, we switch over to Larry, the gossip columnist, and he's just letting us know that Rebel is filming her first music video at the very strip club that Danita Jordan and the Kingdom Church is protesting and boycotting. Now we go inside the strip club and we see Caesar talking to Rebel, and this is basically like his compromise to making sure that Rebel feels like herself. So she's doing a music video that is true to her, and she's inside the strip club dancing, and basically in the song jams. Of course, everything on this show jams, but she's just saying, he's the king of my soul, talking about God. So this definitely makes Rebel feel at home. But not only that, Caesar is obviously doing this as a dig to Danita as well. And we see that Zion, her boyfriend, walks in and is watching her, and we know that he is not particularly pleased with how Rebel is changing up and changing her attitude and her stance on being a stripper. Next, we have on the outside Danita Jordan as she leads the protesters in a prayer at the strip club that Rebel is performing and doing her music video at. And as you can see, she's led an entire mob of people over here to pray for the strippers. But we have the bouncer come outside and tell Danita, you have no business being here. And if you do not call off this protest, I will show the world that I've got video of Taj not only coming to this strip club, but receiving a lap dance from the very woman that you're trying to protest against. And Danita, she starts to wonder, did Taj come to this strip club and offer Rebel a deal, not just with First Kingdom, but she offered her a deal with Caesar's record label, Redeeming Records, which is completely against me because he's my enemy, and Taj knows this. So she gets the wheels turning, she calls off the protest. As we go back to the inside of the strip club, we see that Rebel is done filming the music video. She sees Zion and goes to him and asks him what he thinks. Zion is like, it's cool, but I still feel like this isn't you. Like, you changing up. And she does care for Zion, so she tries to make it better. And this is clearly not enough to feel at home or feel like she's being authentic to herself. Next, we transition over to Taj and Essence, and they're doing some type of intimate moment, but not having sex. And Essence is over it. She wants to have sex with Taj, and he tells her that God still hasn't named you as my wife to be intimate with. We transition back to Rebel at her apartment, and she is having a good old funky time. I guess she's trying to make it up to her boyfriend and let Zion know, I am still the same girl that you used to kick it with. I'm still rolling a joint. I'm still smoking. I'm still drinking. So we see that Rebel is falling back into her old ways, and that Zion may not be the best fit for her at this moment, especially while she's trying to change her life and find out what happened to Danny. Now, while all of that is happening, we see that Taj's night is ruined by his mother, who comes knocking on Essence's door, and she lets him have it. She lets him know that, I know that you went to that strip club and you picked up Rebel and really tried to get her to sign on my label. And when I said no, you gave her to Redeeming Records, my enemy. And because of this, you are now considered a traitor. You betrayed me. And she does slap him. And of course, we have Essence still in the back. And Taj is shocked by what his mom just did. But he has to go with his gut. And he believes in Rebel and believes that she deserves a second chance at life and to get out of the strip club. As we close out of this episode, we see that Deacon Jordan is watching the news, and he sees that there is new evidence found on Danny Williams' murder case. And of course, he is afraid and shaking in his boots because he knows that there is some type of sex tape out there linking him to Danny. Now, this guy, Deacon Jordan, shaking in his boots, and he's thinking and hoping that the bouncer keeps his word and his promise and find out what information Rebel or anyone else in the strip club who knows about Danny and who knows about out what Danny was into that could possibly implicate him of her murder. So what did you guys think of this episode? Episode 3 of Kingdom Business. This was a crazy episode. We found out a lot about these different characters and getting to the meat of what's going on. It seems like the bouncer is in on it. It seems like Deacon Jordan is in on it. And the chief of police may be in on it too. So we'll just see with the next coming episodes. Let me know what you think. Write in the comments down below. And don't forget to hit the share and subscribe button and like. You might as well. You're here. And I'll see you guys next time on The Writer's Room.